theoretically with everybody. Now, before we get started, I want to ask, has anybody used Zoom before? No, I'm just kidding. I bet we've all used Zoom a lot by now. But if you do have any questions or any technical problems, feel free to just put it in the chat, or you can even say, "Hey, I can't hear," or "You're breaking up a little bit." So today we're going to be talking about microbits and a challenge that is available to you and your library patrons, and just some ways that you can utilize these microbits in a way that's engaging and fun, and a good learning opportunity for your patrons. So Claire's going to be covering a lot of the meat and potatoes per se of what you can do with your microbits, how you can do it, any stipulations from us on what to do with the microbits. There aren't many. And then we'll end with a discussion. So Claire, do you want to go ahead and go over to the agenda? Oh, okay, the introduction, excuse me. So I think I know most, if not all of you in here. My name's Brooks Mitchell, been with SSI for a good bit now. And we also have, Claire, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Claire Ratcliffe-Adams. I've been with the Space Science Institute as an education coordinator for the last 2 years. I haven't worked a lot with Project Build libraries, so I'm really happy to meet you all. I always hear amazing things about that project. But there are 4 libraries on here that I did get to meet in person for the Exploring Space exhibit, all about computational thinking, a couple years ago now. It seems like just yesterday, but it's been a while. But it's really great to see some familiar names. Some of you may have already attended a webinar where we talked about microbits, so some of the stuff we cover might be old news. But if not, you guys enjoy the explorations we'll take today.
Awesome, thank you. And so we've got Beatrice in the chat. She just introduced herself. She's been with StarNet for a few years now too. She's going to be just kind of dropping in links and saying a few things in the chat. We also have Stephanie Vero Fields, our relationship coordinator, who is in the chat as well. So if there's anything that comes up and you're like, oh, I need to email them about this, Stephanie might be a good person to reach out to during the chat. And if you're like, oh, what's that resource they mentioned? Beatrice would be a good person to reach out to. You might just reach out to them afterwards because they're great people in general. So, and we'll go on to the agenda. All right. So do the introductions. We have a fun little quick icebreaker. We'll keep it quick. And then Claire's going to jump into things, give you an overview of microbits and bit challenge. She's going to demonstrate a few projects, and then we'll end with some group discussions. And of course, there's no right answer or wrong answer with the group discussions. We just know that y'all kind of hold the expertise on how to facilitate things and how to circulate kits and promote things. So just having your voice in the room, whether it's through the chat or through the microphone, is awesome and helpful. And with that, I should say, anybody that wants to speak, y'all all have microphone privileges. Just make sure to mute yourself when you're not talking. You can also participate in the chat. And I guess we'll go ahead and go to the icebreaker, and you can respond either way for this one. So I thought these were just kind of 2 fun questions I pulled off the internet. So they're just icebreaker questions. Either enter in the chat, or you can say it out loud. But if you speak, just kind of keep it a little brief. So the first one, you can choose either one of these. What's your current cell phone wallpaper? So if it's something funny, Number 2, what would your entrance theme song be? Now this could be like if you were a pro wrestler, or if you were like a TV show host, or I don't know, anything. So I see Sonia saying my grandchildren. Absolutely. That's as her current phone wallpaper. Now I thought about this question a lot personally, and I was like, I think mine would definitely be that song, Tell Me Something Good. Do that funk song. I think that would be my intro. Stephanie Space. Okay, that's very appropriate. My own little corner from Cinderella, since my temporary desk location is in a corner of the library. All right, yeah, that works. Every time you walk into your desk.
I still have my wedding picture from last September as my wallpaper on my cell phone.
Nice. Yeah, that's mine too, Claire. Not your wedding, my wedding, but Kira's saying her phone is so old it does not even have wallpaper. We'll give it like just a few more seconds and we'll move on. But you can feel free to use this icebreaker anytime.
I was just going to say mine is a picture of space that I made. I'm just going to share it in the chat because there's available. Hold on. It's not that important, but why not?
No, that's cool. That's really cool. Are you do you do design, Chris?
Yeah, I dabble.
Very cool.
Is something to do for fun. So.
Well, I know all of us are going to go check this link now, so I'll give it another 30 seconds before we'll jump in. I'm not even going to try to kid ourselves. Oh, very cool. That's really cool, Chris.
Thanks.
Well, the next time we have a meeting all together, we'll check and we'll see who has that as their wallpaper next time. All right. So Claire, I think we should probably move on to the microbit challenge. Yeah, I'll turn it over to you and I'll jump back in later with the discussions.
Awesome. Thank you, Brooks. It's a fun way to get started. I'll have to really think about that theme song. I feel like it might change on a day-to-day basis for how I'm feeling. But yeah, so you guys all should have received at this point a package that contained 10 microbits with some additional little accessories that we'll talk about in a minute. If you haven't received that, please either email Stephanie, she put her email in the chat, or you can reach out to me directly to make sure we can find out where those are, but they should have arrived at this point. So we all have 10 of these. So let's just talk for a little bit about what these little things are. They're actually very, very small. It's like surprising how small they are. You know, they're smaller than the palm of my hand. But they are basically pocket-sized computers that can introduce patrons to how software and hardware work together. So it has an LED light display, as you can see in this picture here. It's lit up as a little heart. It has buttons, sensors, and you guys received the most recent version. So it is completely updated with all kinds of inputs and outputs. And when you program it using microbit's online make code editor, it can interact with you, the world. It can interact with other microbits. There's really no limit on what you can do with these little guys once you start figuring out how to use it and the software that goes with it. So in your microbit package, you will have received 10 of the microbit boards, 10 little micro USB cables. That's how you will attach it to your computer so you can upload any code that you created for it. There should be, each one should have come with a little battery pack, and I believe they all came with 2 AAA batteries each. And I can't remember if the batteries were included. I'm pretty sure they were included. If not, you do need 2 AAA batteries per microbit. And then finally, there was a little patron instruction sheet that has information about the Do Your Bit challenge and how patrons can get involved with that using their microbits. So that little instruction sheet you got a hard copy of, but Beatrice put a link. Oh, great. Linda says batteries were included. Yay, so everything is included there for you. Beatrice put a link bank in the chat that has a downloadable PDF of that document. So you don't need to guard that hard copy that I sent you with your life and make copies of it. You can just click on the link that's in the link bank and print as many as you need using that, if that is something you would like to use. So I'm going to share this little video that Microbit created because no one can describe what this is better than Microbit themselves. So this is just a short, like 1.5 minute video that I will play so you guys can learn a little bit more about what the microbit is and the components that come with it.
It's really simple to get started with the BBC microbit. You just need a microbit, a micro USB cable, and a computer. The microbit is a piece of hardware, a tiny pocket-sized computer. To make it work, you have to tell it what to do by writing a computer program. Programs are called software. The micro USB cable is used to transfer the program onto the microbit. Let's have a look at it. On one side of the microbit, you will see 25 LEDs arranged as a square to make a simple display. There are also two input buttons, button A and button B. On the other side, you will see a reset button and a small socket to plug in a battery pack. We explore the processor and other features in further videos in this series. The microbit can only do what you tell it to do, so the first thing you need to do is write a program. You can use different programming languages to do this. For example, MakeCode, which works as a block and text editor, or the Python text-based editor. For beginners, MakeCode is a good place to start. We've selected some simple projects to help you. Choose one to get started. The latest version of the microbit has some exciting new features. The microphone adds a sound sensor. And the special LED on the front of the microbit lights up to show you when this new sound input is measuring sound levels. The speaker lets you add sound as an instant audio output to your projects. On the front of the new microbit, its logo is now gold. This new capacitive touch sensor is an input that helps you interact with your microbit in even more exciting ways. And now, you can turn the new microbit off by holding your finger down on the reset button on the back. And you can wake it up by pressing it again.
All right, so it's a pretty fun little device.
It's really simple.
Sorry, let me see if I can get out of there. So yeah, just to kind of summarize what it said, how it works is you use the microbit MakeCode editor to write your program. So this is a web-based platform that you go to microbit.org. Again, all of this is in the link bank. And you can either use block coding if you're a beginner, Python or JavaScript, if you know a little bit more about coding languages. You write your program, then you download that code to your computer, and then you use your micro USB cord to connect your microbit to your computer to upload the code. And I will demonstrate how to do all of this in a little bit. One thing I want to mention that is wonderful about microbit is they have made everything into a great little package with self-guided tutorials, lots of little videos like the one we just watched. So you do not need to be an expert on this at all to still have your patrons experience this and benefit this. Our whole message for you at the end of this webinar is this is something you just have the resource, you package it into a circulation kit, and you send it off with your patrons and they do it at home. They have all the resources they need to do it at home. So don't feel stressed if you're like, I don't know what block coding is. And she said that's beginner. Oh no, I can't do this. Like you absolutely don't need to know any of that at all. But there's a lot of room here. If you do start a coding club or you have a youth advisory board and you want to start doing this with your patrons, you can get involved as much or as little as you want. So also included in the package that you received is this patron instruction sheet. So this kind of looks like the front page of that sheet that I sent you. And this is to promote the Do Your Bit challenge. So basically, oh yes, and Linda said when you first turn it on, it starts doing all kinds of things that are pre-programmed that are really neat. That's very true. Microbit already put a program on there for you so you can get a little taste for what lights up and what you can hear. So it's pretty fun. That will go away once you upload your own code to it. So it's only on there temporarily, but it is really fun. So the reason actually why you guys got these free microbits is because of this challenge. So BBC Microbit reached out to us and they were like, hey, we know you work with libraries and that your libraries are doing computational thinking stuff with patrons. We will send you 100 microbits and then please send it out to partners who might do something with it. So we thought of you guys, we hand selected the project build libraries and the exploring space computational thinking libraries because of all of the great work that you guys have already done in creating circulation kits, in interacting with your patrons, in being brave enough to do computational thinking with your patrons. So you are the lucky chosen to receive the 10 microbits. And we want to promote this challenge as much as possible. I do want to say, I did have someone ask, hey, the challenge ends at the end of July and my library is so busy, we don't have time to promote this. Should I still receive the microbits? The answer is absolutely yes. For all the reasons I mentioned before and all the great work you guys do. This is an annual challenge. So if you don't have time to really promote it this year, that's okay. Try it next year. And in the meantime, put together circulation kits and use the microbits, however will serve your patrons best. So again, this is supposed to be really stress-free, just a nice donation for you guys to use. But that being said, I do want to tell you about the Do Your Bit Challenge to see if anyone is interested in just promoting this to your patrons. So I'm going to show another video about what this challenge is, and then we'll get into some details. All right, so we got a great question in the chat while that was going. This is meant for patrons ages 8 to 18. So it's a pretty wide age group or age range. But basically the Do Your Bit Challenge, it is a global challenge. It's offered to anyone around the world. And it really adds social purpose to digital learning. So patrons ages 8 to 18 are invited to submit an idea that solves a problem relating to 2 of the United Nations global goals. And I'll get to that in a minute, but you can have teams of up to 3 people. And this is a challenge that is open. You can submit an idea at any time, and it ends at the end of July. So July 30th is the cutoff date. So just to kind of break down the age groups a little bit. So ages 8 to 14 can create a prototype that's just on paper. If they're not really understanding coding much yet, or maybe they don't have access to a microbit, but they know about the challenge, they know about what the global goals are, and they have an idea for solving one of those global goals, they can just draw something on a piece of paper, they can make something out of Legos, they can submit a prototype that way. If you have a patron who's age 15 to 18, they must use the microbit in their design if they want to submit an idea. So the United Nations came up with 17 Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. And so microbit has been trying to incorporate those Sustainable Development Goals in their Do Your Bit challenges every year. So this year they are focusing on just 2. The first, which is good health and well-being. So the purpose of this goal is to achieve access to healthcare for everyone, everywhere. It aims to help people live more healthy lifestyles, for example, eating more healthy or exercising regularly. And also part of this goal is to make the world a safer place. So for example, by reducing air pollution or controlling disease outbreaks. So they chose this year kind of in relation to COVID-19 as well. So like, what can we do to help people live more healthily and just have better well-being in their lives? So it prioritizes both physical and mental health. The other global goal that this challenge is all about is climate action. So this covers a wide range of issues, including limiting pollution that is causing climate change, strengthening our ability to resist the effects of climate change, and tackling issues such as storms and flooding in some areas or drought in other areas. So those are the two goals. So if a patron has an idea for something that addresses these goals, they can submit that into the challenge. And winners do get prizes. So I believe the winners get a free microbit kit that comes with accessories. So this is something that winners will be chosen and prizes are given out. So looking at that patron sheet, if you have it in front of you, you can follow along or just listen and remember for later. But the first kind of step, I've kind of broken it up into 3 steps for patrons to explore and use their microbit. So the first one is just explore. So it says, follow the self-guided tutorials, such as Send a Smile, to explore how your microbit works. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen now, and we're going to walk through that. I'm going to demonstrate what Send a Smile is and how your patrons can use that to start to learn how to use a microbit. So just bear with me one moment here as I switch. Oops. Lots of things open on my computer. Okay. So again, these are self-guided tutorials. You don't need to facilitate anything unless you want to, but I am going to walk you through how to use it. Okay, so you should right now be seeing microbit.org/project/do-your-bit. Brooks, just let me know if that's not what's showing. It's good, okay. So this page, it tells you a little bit about the challenge here. And again, this link is on the link bank. But if you scroll down, it has a few activities just to try out before you start coding on your own. If you want to learn how to use the Make Code Editor, you can just go right here and it'll walk you through how to do it. So Send a Smile relates to that global goal about health and well-being. It's about, you know, prioritizing mental health and sending a smile to a friend. And the reason why I chose this one to demonstrate is because this is one of the activities where you can have 2 microbits communicate with each other. So it's a way to make coding a social thing instead of just sitting by yourself. So there's an introduction, there's a coding guide, and all you have to do is go right to your Make Code Editor here. And it actually has the code pre-written for you in blocks. If you want to learn JavaScript or Python, you can switch it over to one of those languages, and then you can start to figure out how to write in other languages. But I'm going to stick with block coding because I'm pretty beginner level in terms of coding. So it already has this code set up for you, and there's a simulator over here. So if you want to, before you download your code onto your microbit, and you want to make sure your code works, you can play around with it here. So you can see a little piece of logic right here where it says, on button A press, it will clear the screen and send a radio string of a smile. So let's see. Oh, and then it has a radio received. So if your microbit is next to another microbit that has a radio receiver, which they all do, you should be able to directly send this smile. So when you press A, you can see your little partner microbit will show up and it will send a smile. If you download this code to both of these microbits, you can do the same thing where if you press A on your partner, it'll send one back to you. take it a step further by adding some of your own stuff. So let's say I want to do something with button B. There's nothing here that says button B. So I'm going to go to input, and it's just a drag and drop these blocks. And I'm going to say when button B is pressed, I want some different LEDs to light up. Actually, if you go to basic, it has some really easy LED lights. So when button B is pressed, I want it to show a heart. And you can just very simply, hopefully that looks like a heart. Strange heart. Let's see. Good enough. Okay, that's my version of a heart. And then you can test out your code on the simulator. If you press B, a heart will show up. If you press A, it will send a smile. So there, I'm already writing my code, very simply just using these blocks. There's all kinds of stuff you can play with if you wanted to make sound. So I could have changed this. If I press button B, it would play a sound. You can start getting into your variables, loops, all kinds of stuff. Just play around with it, use the simulator, starts to show up. Once you have a code that you're happy with, like, okay, great, I can send a smile to a friend and I can show myself some self-love by sending myself a heart. I'm good with this. Now you have to take your code and put it on your actual microbit. So the way you do that is you just click download. So download complete. So this is downloaded to my computer. And I am now going to share just my computer so you can see how I take that download and upload it to my microbit. So, all right. So hopefully you can see. Brooks, just feel free to unmute yourself and tell me if they can't see. But if you open up your files and you go to downloads.
Yeah, Claire, you're on the webinar agenda right now.
Oh, thank you. Zoom is so great, but still run into some trouble sometime. Okay, so I will show you, this should work. So I've opened up my files and you just go to download and you can see it's always a hex file. Then what you need to do is take your microbit, put your little USB cord into it, make sure the battery pack is also attached, connect your microbit to your computer using your USB cord. I just attached it. You can see that it just popped up down here. I'm going to do it over here. So all you have to do is drag and drop your code to your microbit file. It's going to take a few seconds to upload. So there we go. Once it is done, perfect. You can go ahead and, of course, safely remove your microbit from your computer. And now you can test it out on your actual hardware. So I just pressed the B button. I don't know if you can see that. My little heart showed up, all ready to go. I happen to have another microbit over here that I already uploaded the code on earlier today. So you can test it out, see if it will communicate. But always make sure the battery packs are included. All right, so I'm going to test it out here. If you can see it, if I press A, and it worked. It sent a smile to my friend. And when I press A on this one, it sends it back. So a fun way for them to interact with each other by simply using the Make Code editor to write your code, downloading it, and uploading it. And it's as simple as those 3 steps. All right.
Claire, we got a question in the chat, and I was trying to do some quick research, but I'm not finding much. How sturdy are they? Somebody's, saying I noticed they were a step tracker tied to a shoe, and what I saw online was like, yeah, sturdy and strong, but nothing too detailed.
They're actually remarkably sturdy. They feel very fragile, but these are made for kids. So you can absolutely, don't try to break it. but they are waterproof. I'm actually doing a project right now with 3rd graders where they are using them to make soil moisture sensors. So they're tucked into plants, into the soil and getting watered, and they're remarkably sturdy. So yeah, great question. Any other questions at this point before I jump back into the PowerPoint slides? Awesome. And again, I always like to remind people, all of this is included in the microbit.org web-based platform. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to have a login information. And if you don't feel confident in your coding abilities, again, there's self-guided tutorials. They have the code already written. So it's really like low stakes, low pressure on you as a facilitator. So I will jump back into those slides. One moment. Okay, find where those went. Okay. Okay, PowerPoint, found it. All right, and Brooks, do you see the presenter view or?
No, you're in the double screen one.
Thank you. My computer does this thing where it's always a surprise when I share my screen.
Yeah, right.
So that was step 1 on the back of that patron sheet, is just explore. So encourage your patrons to go to that link and they can try send a smile. There's 5 other options like that step counter one, all kinds of things. So that they can just play with that, practice downloading, practice making their own code. And it's really just to help them get to know how to use it. The next part is once your patron feels comfortable, it's time to create. It's time to think about those global goals and think about what kind of innovative solutions you can come up with to make something that makes the world a better place. So that's this whole next step, just getting in there and seeing what you can come up with on your own. And then finally, once you have a prototype that you are proud of, and again, whether that is on a microbit or whether that is on a piece of paper, then this is when kids can enter to win. So enter their idea to win a prize. Again, it's open to kids ages 8 through 18. And on the back of that sheet, it has this link. So your patrons, again, if they're doing this at home, they will have all the information they need to go and be successful with the challenge. So I did want to tell you a little bit about last year's winners, so you can kind of get an idea for what types of creative kids we have out there in the world. It's really amazing. So last year we had Anshi from China. She designed a device that prevents birds from colliding into glass windows. So she did use a micromate board. That's an accessory that you can buy that goes along with microbits, and an ultrasonic distance sensor alongside a microbit, and some LEDs. So she really created a truly unique solution. My mind is always blown by the youth of today. Also last year we had Chris, Jacob, Success, and Sharon from Nigeria. They didn't have actual microbits, but they did have access to a computer and the internet. So they just used that simulator that I just showed you to create an alarm system that prevents underwater pipeline vandalism. They learned that this was a big problem in their community, that people were vandalizing underwater pipes and it was harming sea life. So they got on a computer, they went to microbit.org, they put their heads together, and they created like a really cool prototype, right? They weren't even using a microbit, but there's these other tools that you can use to enter into the challenge. And they were one of the winners. So purchasing information, you did receive 10 of these, but let's say you're like, this is awesome. I have a coding club. Maybe it's virtual right now, but you're still meeting, or maybe you're planning something in the summer, and you want to get more of these. Where can you buy them? So if you go to microbit.org, just the main page that comes up on the home page, if you scroll all the way over, you don't even have to scroll. It's just at the top toolbar all the way to the right. There's a button called Buy. If you click on that, it will show all kinds of options for places where you can buy more of these things. It's so many options. You'll scroll through and through and through to find a suitable place. You can also filter it by location. So if you want to find a place close to you to buy something, it's really excellent. You can buy it anything and everything you need there. This is what shows when you click on buy. So like I said, you can choose the version you would like say you want to check out what that girl had when she had a micro make board. You can type that in there, type your location. But yeah, all kinds of options for purchasing more things if you want more microbits or just accessories that go with it. The soil sensor that I'm doing with third graders needed an extra part. It needed a little probe to put in the soil. So I did have to buy an accessory for that. But microbit just has all kinds of stuff that you can add. My top choices that I've had the most success with in purchasing, sometimes you do get back orders on these. They're becoming really popular all around the world. But my top 3 places to go is Spark Fun. That's located here in Boulder. So it's right down the road for me, but they also ship nationally. If what happened to me happens to you, which was a few weeks ago, I was trying to purchase some things from Spark Fun. They were totally backlogged for months. So I couldn't order online. So I used Microbit's search function and I found that micro centers, which are kind of like a big warehouse for tech stuff, they sell microbits and accessories. So I was actually able to find one in Denver and go in person and buy the things I needed. You can also find these things on Amazon. And just to let you know, budget-wise, a microbit Go bundle, which comes with a microbit board, a battery pack, two AAA batteries, and a USB cord, will run you about $16.50. So that's the cost of one of these, just if you want that for planning purposes. All right, so I'm now going to turn it over to Brooks to start some discussions, and we'd love to hear thoughts from you guys about what you think about all of this and what you think you might do with your microbits.
Yeah, and in general, this is an open discussion. We have a few like prompts and questions and things to get the conversation started. But if you want to take it in a completely different direction, I don't think Claire and I are going to mind too much. Just as long as we keep it to microbits and ways to utilize them with your patrons. But I just want to point out the last comment in the chat. Janeco Electronics from Belmont, California, has the previous version. So for some reason you wanted the earlier version, you could get it through that vendor. Thank you. Yeah, so in general, just look at these 3 prompts. What ideas do you have? What just some fun programmatic or activity ideas? And then how long should the kits, do you think, if you're making these circulation kits with these microbits, how long would you maybe keep them in circulation? What's long enough to get an effective use time for a patron to really be able to explore it while at the same time maximizing how many different patrons you can get it to. And then lastly, again, this is it's supposed to be very stress-free, but if you had any ideas for hey, we do want to do that, we want to do the challenge this year or next year, and is there a way that we can get patrons that are also interested in doing the challenge, make sure they can get some microbits? So yeah, we'll start out with those 3. I already see Vera in the chat saying adding lights to 3D art. That's very cool. I like that idea.
I had something I wanted to add real quick.
Yeah.
So, MakeCode's great. I've used it a little bit. It's very understandable, but I know a lot of people in this group have more experience with Scratch. They also do use Scratch. I'm going to put a link in the chat. And basically in Scratch, you add an extension and you can utilize Scratch with the microbits.
Super helpful. Yeah, I know I feel like most library staff I've worked with at least know of Scratch, or have tried to maybe implement it in some kind of programming, especially if they're working with younger folks. So you said that was an extension, Chris? That I think you're muted.
If you go to that link, it actually tells you have to, while you're in Scratch, you add something to it. I forget.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the link to get you started with that.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And Linda's just saying still not doing any programs in person, and this would really work with some tweaking as a virtual program. I think that's a great idea, especially if you could get them out. Oh, yeah, you could like get them out ahead of time and say, hey, explore these, and then a week from now we're going to come and we're going to do like a little tutorial, or we'll even explore what you've done. But you would have to get all those out kind of at the same time if you wanted to do a simultaneous program. But actually, Linda, if you want to like speak more to that, or type more to that, that's a really great idea.
I am just going to chime in maybe while she's typing or people are thinking, but at Cuyahoga County Public Library, we've had some success with Arduino-based programming, where we essentially have kits, so in the instance of these microbits, you just divide them up by 10 or something, and we slap a barcode on them, and the patron checks them out, and they sign up for the program, they come pick it up, and then when the program's over, they bring it back. And we've had a lot of success with that, so I don't see why you couldn't just do that with these.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's kind of my thinking. And Paulin said in the chat, circulate them individually or in pairs, or question mark. And my thought was, in giving you each 10 of these, you could totally put them in a circulation kit that has 2. So maybe 5 circulation kits. That way families can do some of those activities where the 2 microbits communicate with each other. I just showed you one very simple one, but there's other tutorials on there where you can play rock, paper, scissors with 2 of these. But it's fun to get them to interact together.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if you just had one and then you realized all the cool stuff you could do with 2 when they're communicating, you'd be like, let me check out 2 at the same time. Sonia, I love what you're saying about doing like a challenge group, and I feel like you would just need to market it well, in your library, like, hey, interested in the microbit challenge? Come sign up at the reference desk or something like that, and then that could kind of be your prototype to a certain extent too, of circulating them out and do a bigger push afterwards. And Mary's saying, is he doing a virtual program? Yeah, I could do a tutorial and then regroup a week later to see what people have done. Yeah, like, hey, this Monday we're going to do just kind of a 101, show you a few easy things you can do, explore, and then next Monday we're going to come back and we'll see like just kind of a show and tell. Put 5 in a kit so families can do it together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like what Linda said about doing intro stuff before they even have a microbit in hand. Going back to what you were saying about the virtual programs, you don't even need to have the microbits yet. Work together, share screens, do some of that, either scratch or make code editor, prototype it that way, and then it could be really exciting to be like, okay, now that you have your code, you've iterated on it, come pick up your microbits and take them home for the week and see what happens. So I think that's a great way to scaffold. If you are doing a coding club that meets once a week, you can kind of scaffold the content over time. And Sonia is saying good Gigglebots go with the microbits, and they require 2 to talk to each other. And it sounds like you guys are familiar with those. So I have not played with those, but just the name sounds really fun.
I know, right? I want to know more. So one of our clerks attached a video camera, the Gigglebot, and sent it around the library.
Yeah, and Linda,
go ahead.
Linda says the prices on the microbits are really reasonable, which I totally agree. These are getting used in schools nowadays. They're a very affordable way to just like learn coding, but in a 3-dimensional way where you're not just stuck to a screen. You get to actually have some hands-on fun with coding, and they're very affordable.
Yeah, I love, Claire, that these ideas are like very here's how we could do a group program with people instead of just individual circulation, which would still be a lot of fun and great, but it's more like, hey, we can turn this into a program. We can bring people together even if we're all on Zoom. So yeah. See you, Stephanie. Any other ideas? Give you all like 30 seconds before we move on to the next prompts.
One thing I do want to say that might spark some ideas, because I do want to keep the chat going if other people have ideas, but if you're not familiar with the microbit yet, this is also, you can use it as a makey or a circuit board. So project build libraries, I know you guys did a lot with circuit stuff. So an accessory that you could purchase to go with this are alligator clips. And then down here, you have a board that you can connect the alligator clips to and connect it to other conductive materials. And it can light up and make certain things when there's a complete circuit. So it's a fun way to bring electronics into any of your youth programs. That's actually how we're doing the soil moisture sensor, is the kids are attaching alligator clips to the sensor that goes in the soil. But just another way to build some STEM content in there besides just coding.
Yeah, that's really cool, Claire. I didn't realize it served that way too. I wish Stephanie hadn't just signed off, because this is totally up her alley. What Linda's saying, it's a great idea. I'm not sure what format we would do it or what like web platform, but a discussion thread for sharing ideas about how everyone is using them, especially circulating or in programs, especially right now with social distancing and virtual programs, how everybody's using them. I wonder, could you do that in a blog, or go ahead, Claire, sorry.
Yeah, I love this. And that's actually going to be the very last thing we talk about, is if anyone is willing to share what they've done. Because again, this is kind of a no strings attached donation. Microbit isn't requiring any reporting. However, they asked, and we are going to ask you, if you do have ideas or pictures of how you packaged it, or maybe how you used it in a group with kids. If you want to share any of those ideas, we would love them. And then we could either put it into a blog form on StarNet, and also, of course, we would share it with BBC Microbit so they can see how their donations are being used. I might just start an email thread with all of you to start that going, but I'll brainstorm with Stephanie, since she is our relationship liaison, about how we can do that. But I really love that idea.
Yeah,
Linda.
Great idea. Well, let's move on to the next prompt, and then we'll just, if you have ideas related to the other one, it's open discussion. But this is all about promotion, and kind of touches on what we were talking about earlier. And I think Vera said something about, you could promote the kit as the challenge at first, and then have those kids sign up and do the challenge, and then you could, promote it to everybody afterwards. But I personally think, families will see these, and a lot of them will know what microbits are, and they'll jump off the shelves per se. But I don't know, what ideas would you all have for promoting kits with microbits?
Mary asked a question about when a patron submits an idea, is it a video format, or do you send the microbit? It's through a Google form. So you just upload your code or a picture. So you don't actually have to you don't have to mail anything. It's all on a Google form. And that entry form is on the link bank that Beatrice has been dropping in the chat. And Beatrice, if you could drop that one more time, all of the resources are included in that link bank.
Yeah, it's good to know. Or I guess another take on this question would be, do y'all think these will fly off the shelves as well at your library, that there'll be like a wait list for them, or do you think that you'll actually have to kind of get the word out a little bit? And Linda's saying, well, that's a good question. Will they have additional challenges after this one is over?
As far as I know, the Do Your Bit challenge is the only challenge they do, but it is an annual challenge that they do every year. And it generally, you can start submitting ideas. This year they wanted to get it started in January, and there were a few delays. So I think and they actually pushed back the deadline. But it runs for about 6 months. So we're just catching the last 3 months of it this year, but generally January to July is when you can submit ideas.
And if you come up with your own like library-wide one, that would be really cool too. Make sure to share that with everybody. That's a great point. Yes, Pauline, excuse me, saying we'll have to get the word out and be very deliberate, especially if they're already using them in the schools because of tech burnout. Like maybe kids just want to go get their hands in some dirt and some mud and stuff like that. So that's a good point too, but maybe emphasizing the ways that you could even, use those outside or use those in once things are back to normal per se, like in a group setting.
On a similar note, Claire, do you have any documentation or resources on how you've used those for moisture sensing?
I do. I have a whole activity write-up that I'd be happy to share with all of you. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun way to add a little bit of tech stuff into some gardening stuff. And I'm a total gardener at heart. Coding comes secondary to that. So, but yeah, I can share that with you.
Yeah, if I don't know, email it later or something, I'd be really interested.
I will send that and all of these other resources, including our link bank, in a follow-up email to everybody.
This is super good feedback coming in. Mary, I like what you're saying about like your promotion will need to be more geared to the parents, especially for the younger kids. Tony's bringing up that like just right now with people getting back into the library and just maybe like hesitancy for public programming and stuff and young people, that it will probably require some extra promotion. Linda's saying this is a truly Alaska problem. Well, it's maybe a Colorado problem too, but more so in Alaska. Finding a local problem to solve, like a bear alarm. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and one way to maybe draw people in, since there is this kind of tech burnout and screen burnout, maybe start with those global goals. Start with coming up with a creative solution for making the world a safer place, a healthier place, and have a couple sessions where that's all you do. You don't even have to bring in the tech stuff yet. Get those kids excited about their ideas and then see how you can work in the microbit. So one potential avenue for those who are burnt out from tech.
Yeah. And I mean, I always talk about West Virginia and how they promoted some other project build stuff of like going to the radio, which is something you don't totally think about. But there's the opioid crisis hit West Virginia hard, and there were a lot of grandparents raising grandkids. And from what I heard, they were like, that's a great way to reach the grandparents because they're still listening to public radio. So we did a lot of ads there. And Mary, I don't want to just speak for your library, but that's always like just kind of thinking outside the box. Like if we're targeting parents, what are parents using? What avenues are parents communicating with? Are they on, Facebook or whatever? But I just always love that anecdote of how y'all, approached that, how to engage with your patrons. Oh, great idea. Yeah, Mary, I didn't even think about the summer library or summer learning program theme, Tales and Tales. There could definitely be some tie-ins with that. Nothing's coming to my head right away, but I'm sure there could be. All right, give it a few more seconds, see if any other ideas roll in. We can move along. That's right, Vera, I forgot. Yeah, y'all don't follow the CSLP theme. Reading colors your world. Oh, that's not, yeah. I bet you could do a lot of, with reading colors your world, you could do like different, different visualizations with the, with the lights and things like that. I don't know.
You can, one thing that's fun with the microbits, with those LED lights, is you can spell out words. And so the first time I ever used one of these, I went to a training And the first thing they had us make was a name badge, and the microbits was our name tag. And so we had to code our names onto it. So just thinking about reading colors your world, maybe coming up with like book quotes or like your favorite book title or something like that, that could kind of flash across the screen.
All right, Claire, do we have one more slide? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being willing to take this. We appreciate all of the stuff that you've done with us at StarNet, and recognize all of the great stuff you do with your patrons. So we hope that this donation can help with your programming, and even if you just have it as a circulation kit, as an extra resource to your patrons, it's something to add a little more CT in those libraries. But again, we would love to hear how this goes. This is not a requirement, but we would love any pictures of kits that you create, any promotional materials, or let us know if you have a patron who ends up submitting an idea to the challenge. We would just love to potentially, with permission, share it on a StarNet blog, let BBC Microbit know. But yeah, keep us in mind. I will send a follow-up email with that information, and maybe we can keep that as an email thread for if you have something that really worked and you want to share it with the group. You know, this is a community where we're all excited about this and learning from each other. So yeah, so you'll hear from me in an email. Awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you all for giving us ideas and giving us expertise to share with other library staff. So we're happy just to be able to provide something like Claire said, or help facilitate getting you a really cool, fun tool. All right. Well, Claire, will we send out the recording to the group afterwards?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There were a few people who received microbits and were not able to attend. So this was recorded. I will send the recording out to everyone as well, so you can share that with other staff or for training purposes. So with that, we'll stop share, and I'll stick around for one more minute if anyone has lingering questions, but otherwise have a really great day and enjoy your microbits.
Bye, everybody.
So much.
Thanks, Vera.
Yeah, it's good to
Mary.
talk with you, Vera.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Mary.
All right. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Brooks and
Thank
Beatrice.
you.
Bye.